Mother adopts dog for her disabled daughter. What followed leaves everyone speechless. For as long as she could remember, Emily's world had been confined to a wheelchair. Diagnosed with cerebral palsy at birth, her mobility was limited, and daily tasks that other children took for granted were a challenge. But Emily's spirit was as boundless as her physical world was restricted. Her bright smile and sparkling blue eyes lit up every room she entered. Though she couldn't explore her surroundings freely, she saw beauty in her small world and constantly found ways to stay cheerful. Her mother, Sarah, admired her daughter's resilience. As a single mom, Sarah had faced challenges, juggling between work, Emily's medical needs, and the daily tasks of raising a child on her own. Yet Emily's positivity fueled her mother's determination. Despite the hurdles, Sarah was unwavering in her dedication to creating a life filled with joy and love for her little girl. Still, Sarah felt that something was missing from Emily's life. A unique bond, a companion who could offer comfort and loyalty in a way only a pet could. So, one evening, Sarah found herself scrolling through adoption posts from a nearby animal shelter. One post caught her attention, a golden retriever mix named Daisy. Daisy was described as calm, affectionate, and gentle, with a patient nature and an ability to bond deeply. The shelter's note mentioned that Daisy had been left behind by her previous owners, but her spirit remained as gentle and kind as ever. The sight of the dog's large, soulful brown eyes and golden fur, soft and slightly unkempt, made Sarah pause. An idea sparked in her mind. Maybe Daisy could be the friend that Emily needed, the kind of friend that would bring joy, warmth, and companionship to her daughter's life. The next morning, Sarah and Emily headed to the shelter, excitement and curiosity in their hearts. Emily had never had a pet before, and though Sarah didn't know if Daisy would be a perfect match, she felt it was worth a try. As they entered the shelter, the sounds of barking and faint meows filled the air, and Emily's eyes grew wide with wonder. Sarah wheeled her daughter up to the kennel where Daisy was waiting, her tail wagging softly as she sat watching them approach. The moment Daisy saw Emily, she approached with a gentle curiosity. Her large, expressive eyes seemed to soften as she took in the little girl in the wheelchair. Sarah held her breath as Daisy took a few tentative steps forward, sniffing the air around Emily's outstretched hand. She nuzzled Emily's palm softly, her tail wagging, and Emily giggled, her face lighting up with pure joy. Sarah felt a wave of relief wash over her. This was the connection she had been hoping for. Emily's fingers gently stroked Daisy's fur, a soft giggle escaping her lips as Daisy nuzzled closer. She looked up at her mother, her blue eyes shining. "Can we keep her, Mommy?" she asked, her voice filled with excitement. Sarah's heart swelled with emotion, and she nodded, fighting back tears. "Yes, sweetheart," she replied softly, brushing a strand of hair away from Emily's face. "Daisy's coming home with us." On the drive back, Daisy sat in the back seat beside Emily's wheelchair, her head resting on the little girl's lap. Emily stroked Daisy's fur, giggling each time Daisy's tail thumped against the seat in excitement. The scene warmed Sarah's heart, and she knew without a doubt that she had made the right choice. When they arrived home, Daisy explored every corner of the house, sniffing each room and corner as she adjusted to her new surroundings. Emily watched with fascination, clapping her hands whenever Daisy came near her. Sarah felt a deep sense of gratitude as she observed the bond already forming between her daughter and their new family member. In the following days, Daisy settled into their routine seamlessly. She became Emily's shadow, following her around the house, resting at her side during therapy sessions, and curling up beside her bed at night. Daisy seemed to understand Emily's needs on a level that went beyond instinct. It was as if she could sense Emily's struggles and wanted to offer her support and companionship. During Emily's therapy sessions, Daisy would sit patiently beside her, watching intently as Emily went through her exercises. Her presence gave Emily comfort and confidence, helping her push through difficult moments. Emily's physical therapist, Dr. Lynn, noticed a remarkable improvement in Emily's engagement and motivation. Emily's motivation has increased significantly, Dr. Lynn remarked to Sarah during one session. She seems more focused and determined. I don't know what's changed, but whatever you're doing, keep it up. Sarah smiled, glancing over at Daisy, who was lying calmly beside Emily's wheelchair, her head resting on her paws. She knew exactly what had changed. Daisy had brought a new light into Emily's life, giving her something to look forward to each day. The dog's gentle companionship inspired Emily to push herself further, wanting to share every moment with her beloved friend. One afternoon, Sarah decided to take Emily and Daisy to the nearby park. The sun was shining brightly, casting a warm glow over the playground and grassy fields. Emily was thrilled as they arrived, her eyes darting around excitedly as Sarah helped her settle on a blanket under a tree. Daisy lay down beside Emily, her tail thumping against the ground as she looked around, taking in the sights and sounds of the park. As the two sat there, a group of children noticed Emily and her wheelchair, their curiosity drawing them closer. Sarah felt a pang of anxiety. Sometimes children could be unintentionally insensitive, and she didn't want Emily to feel uncomfortable. But before she could intervene, Daisy stepped forward, positioning herself protectively beside Emily. The children, noticing Daisy's calm demeanor and wagging tail, approached with smiles and gentle hands. "Is this your dog?" asked a boy named Leo, his eyes wide as he reached out to pet Daisy. Emily beamed with pride. "Yes, her name is Daisy. She's my best friend." The other children crouched down, petting Daisy and asking Emily questions about her wheelchair. Sarah watched in amazement as her daughter engaged with the children, sharing her story and laughing alongside them. For the first time, Emily was part of a group, her wheelchair no longer an obstacle, but simply a part of who she was. Daisy's presence had created a bridge, allowing Emily to connect with others and feel included. That evening, as they returned home, Emily couldn't stop talking about the day's adventures. She recounted every detail to Daisy, who listened patiently, her eyes trained on Emily as if she understood every word. "Daisy, they liked you so much. You're the best friend ever," Emily whispered, wrapping her arms around Daisy's neck in a hug. The dog responded by resting her head on Emily's shoulder, her eyes soft with love. Watching her daughter and Daisy, Sarah felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Daisy had not only brought companionship to Emily's life, she had opened doors that Sarah had never thought possible. Emily was connecting with the world around her in ways she had never done before, and her confidence was growing each day. As Sarah tucked Emily into bed that night, she reflected on how much Daisy had transformed their lives in such a short time. The gentle dog had filled their home with joy, warmth, and a sense of belonging that Sarah had always wished for her daughter. In the days that followed, Sarah realized that Daisy's impact went beyond what she could have imagined. Emily's joy was palpable, her laughter more frequent, and her interactions with others more confident. Sarah knew that Daisy was no ordinary dog. She had a gift, an intuition that allowed her to understand Emily's needs on a deep, almost magical level. But little did Sarah know, Daisy's presence in their lives was only the beginning. This gentle golden retriever had a purpose that extended beyond companionship, and soon Sarah would witness an even greater role for Daisy in Emily's life, one that would leave her and everyone who knew them utterly speechless. As the days turned into weeks, Emily's bond with Daisy grew stronger, and it was as if they could understand each other without words. Daisy became more than just a pet. She was Emily's friend, her confidant, and even her silent protector. Every morning, as Sarah prepared breakfast, Daisy would be right beside Emily's wheelchair, patiently waiting for her friend to finish her meal before trotting along beside her for the day's adventures. One morning, as Sarah was busy tidying up the kitchen, she noticed Emily's giggles drifting from the living room. She peeked around the corner to see Daisy gently nudging a small rubber ball toward Emily, who laughed each time she reached out to grab it. Emily's coordination was a challenge, but Daisy waited, her head tilted, patiently nudging the ball closer each time Emily missed. Sarah watched, her heart swelling with pride and gratitude as Emily practiced movements she normally found difficult, her determination fueled by the love and encouragement of her furry friend. Soon, Sarah noticed that Emily's physical abilities were improving in unexpected ways. Her hands, which had once struggled with fine motor tasks, were gaining strength. Emily seemed more motivated to reach out, grasp objects, and even perform exercises that had once been a struggle for her. Dr. Lynn, her therapist, was astounded by Emily's progress. "Emily, you've been doing such a great job," Dr. Lynn said one day during their session. "Whatever you're doing at home, it's really making a difference." Emily looked up at her mother and grinned. "It's Daisy, Dr. Lynn. She's helping me. We play games every day, and I want to get better so I can throw the ball for her." Dr. Lynn chuckled, glancing at Sarah with admiration. "Daisy's truly special. It's incredible to see the impact she's having on Emily." After that, Dr. Lynn incorporated Daisy into Emily's therapy sessions. She brought a few toys and a small agility course, encouraging Emily to guide Daisy through simple tasks. Though the exercises were designed for Emily's benefit, Daisy seemed to understand her role, responding to Emily's gentle commands with unwavering patience and attentiveness. Dr. Lynn remarked on the dog's unique intuition, amazed at how Daisy seemed to know when Emily was struggling and would slow down or sit patiently until she was ready to try again. The difference was remarkable. What had once been routine therapy exercises became moments of joy and accomplishment. Emily no longer dreaded the physical demands of her therapy. Instead, she looked forward to each session as an opportunity to play and bond with Daisy. Her progress astounded Sarah, who realized that the changes in Emily weren't just physical. Her confidence and sense of self were blossoming too. One afternoon, Sarah decided to take Emily and Daisy to a community event at the local park. It was a sunny Saturday, and families had gathered to enjoy the live music, games, and food stands that lined the park's pathways. Sarah thought it would be a wonderful opportunity for Emily to interact with others and enjoy a new experience. Emily was thrilled, her eyes shining with excitement as she took in the festive atmosphere. Daisy stayed by her side, keeping a gentle pace alongside Emily's wheelchair as they made their way through the park. The golden retriever's calm, comforting presence seemed to give Emily a newfound courage, and she waved at people who passed by, smiling brightly. At one point, they stopped by a small activity area where children were painting. Emily watched intently, her eyes darting from one child to another as they dipped their brushes into paint jars, creating colorful swirls on their canvases. A woman hosting the event noticed Emily's interest and approached her with a warm smile. "Would you like to paint, sweetheart?" she asked, glancing at Sarah for approval. Emily hesitated, glancing down at her hands. Painting was something she had always wanted to try, but the thought of holding the brush and controlling her movements was daunting. But as she looked at Daisy, who was gazing up at her with her gentle, encouraging eyes, Emily felt a surge of bravery. "Yes, I want to try," Emily said with determination, her small voice ringing with excitement. Sarah helped Emily settle at a table, and Daisy sat beside her, watching intently as the woman handed Emily a paintbrush and a canvas. With a little guidance, Emily dipped her brush into the paint and brought it to the canvas, her hand moving in slow, careful strokes. Her face lit up with concentration and joy, her tongue sticking out slightly as she focused on each brushstroke. Daisy, sensing her friend's excitement, rested her chin on the table beside Emily, her eyes following the movement of the brush. The children around them noticed the dog's gentle presence and began chatting with Emily, asking her about Daisy. Emily beamed, proudly telling them stories about her furry friend, her voice filled with happiness. As the sun began to set, Emily's painting was nearly complete, a vibrant swirl of colors that reflected the joy and excitement she felt that day. She looked up at her mother, her face flushed with pride. "Look, Mommy, I made this for Daisy," she exclaimed, holding up her colorful masterpiece. Sarah smiled, her eyes misty with emotion. "It's beautiful, sweetheart. Daisy will love it." That evening, as Sarah put Emily to bed, her daughter hugged her tightly, her eyes sparkling with happiness. "Mommy, Daisy makes me feel brave," Emily whispered. "She helps me try things I was scared of before." Sarah kissed her daughter's forehead, whispering softly, "That's because Daisy sees how brave you already are, honey. She's just helping you see it too." In the weeks that followed, Daisy's role in Emily's life continued to grow in unexpected ways. One evening, after Sarah had tucked Emily in and turned off the lights, Daisy lingered by the little girl's bed, her ears perked as if sensing something unusual. Sarah watched from the doorway as Daisy seemed to study Emily's breathing, her eyes filled with a gentle concern. The dog circled Emily's bed once, sniffing the air, then settled herself at the foot of the bed, resting her head on her paws, but with her eyes alert. Later that night, Sarah was awoken by the soft sounds of Daisy's whining. She hurried to Emily's room to find Daisy standing beside her daughter's bed, her body tense and her gaze fixed on Emily. Sarah's heart raced with worry as she approached, noticing that Emily was breathing heavily and sweating. She gently shook Emily awake and the little girl opened her eyes, her face flushed. "Mommy, I don't feel well," she murmured, her voice weak. Sarah immediately called for medical help, and within minutes, paramedics arrived to check on Emily. It turned out that Emily had developed a slight fever, and while it was nothing serious, Sarah was grateful that Daisy had sensed her daughter's distress and alerted her. As the paramedics left, one of them paused, giving Daisy a gentle pat. "This dog's got a strong intuition," he remarked to Sarah. "She sensed Emily wasn't feeling well before you even knew. That's a special bond." Sarah nodded, her heart swelling with gratitude as she watched Daisy sit by Emily's side, her eyes filled with unwavering loyalty. In that moment, Sarah realized just how profound Daisy's presence in their lives truly was. Daisy wasn't just a companion or a playmate. She was Emily's guardian, her protector in every sense of the word. The next day, as Emily recovered, she spent the morning resting on the couch with Daisy at her side. She stroked the dog's fur absent-mindedly, her fingers weaving through Daisy's soft coat. Daisy lay there perfectly still, as if understanding that her friend needed comfort. "Thank you for watching over me, Daisy," Emily whispered, her small voice filled with gratitude. Daisy turned her head, nuzzling Emily's hand in response, her eyes warm and full of love. That afternoon, Sarah received a phone call from Dr. Lynn, who was checking in on Emily. As they talked, Sarah shared the events of the previous night, describing how Daisy had alerted her to Emily's discomfort. "That's remarkable," Dr. Lynn said, her tone filled with admiration. "Some dogs have a unique ability to sense physical changes in their humans, especially those they share a deep bond with. It sounds like Daisy is more than just Emily's friend. She's become her guardian." The realization struck Sarah deeply. Daisy wasn't just Emily's companion. She was fulfilling a role Sarah had never anticipated. The dog's intuition and dedication to Emily's well-being were beyond anything Sarah could have imagined. As Sarah watched Emily and Daisy together, she felt a powerful sense of gratitude for the day she had made the decision to bring Daisy into their lives. What had started as a hope for companionship for her daughter had blossomed into a connection that surpassed anything she could have expected. But Sarah had yet to witness the true extent of Daisy's loyalty. In the days to come, Daisy's actions would astonish her even further, leaving Sarah and everyone who knew them speechless. The weeks that followed cemented Daisy's place in Emily's life as more than just a pet. Daisy had become Emily's steadfast protector and closest friend, a source of comfort and courage. They were inseparable, their bond growing stronger each day. But one particular day would change everything for the Williams family, revealing the true depths of Daisy's intuition and devotion. It was a bright Saturday morning, and Sarah had planned a visit to a local park with Emily and Daisy. The weather was perfect, and the park was bustling with families, children, and dogs. Emily was thrilled, her eyes lighting up as she clutched Daisy's leash, eager to show her best friend all her favorite spots in the park. As they strolled down the sun-dappled paths, Emily and Daisy paused frequently to watch the other children playing or to admire the ducks paddling in the pond. Daisy stayed close to Emily's wheelchair, her eyes constantly scanning the surroundings. The dog seemed to understand her role as both protector and companion, never straying far from Emily's side. After an hour of walking and enjoying the scenery, Sarah decided to find a shaded bench where Emily could rest. She settled her daughter in the shade, securing Daisy's leash to the armrest of Emily's wheelchair, and sat down beside them. They shared a small picnic, with Emily giggling as she sneaked pieces of cheese to Daisy, who gently took each morsel from her hand, her tail wagging happily. But as the afternoon wore on, Sarah noticed something unusual. Emily had grown quieter and seemed a bit drowsy, her energy waning faster than usual. Concerned, Sarah reached out to feel her daughter's forehead, only to find it was warm to the touch. "Are you feeling okay, sweetheart?" Sarah asked gently. Emily nodded, but her face was pale, and her eyes looked tired. Sarah's worry grew, and she began gathering their things, ready to head home. But just as she stood up, she felt a sudden tug on her arm. It was Daisy. The golden retriever had risen to her feet, her body tense, her ears perked. She was staring intently at Emily, her gaze unwavering, as if sensing something was terribly wrong. Before Sarah could react, Emily slumped in her wheelchair, her breathing shallow. Panic surged through Sarah as she tried to rouse her daughter. Emily's face had grown paler, and her small body was limp. But it was Daisy's response that left Sarah speechless. With a sharp, urgent bark, Daisy sprang into action, tugging frantically at her leash until she managed to break free. The dog bolted through the park, her barks echoing, her body low to the ground as she raced toward the park entrance where Sarah had noticed an ambulance earlier. Sarah watched in astonishment and fear as Daisy ran, barking louder and louder. The people nearby watched in confusion as the golden retriever darted across the grass, seemingly on a mission. Within moments, she reached the ambulance, barking and pawing at the medics as if begging them to follow her. One of the paramedics, recognizing the dog's distress, knelt down. "Hey there, girl. Is someone in trouble?" Daisy let out a sharp, urgent bark, her eyes fixed on the medic, and turned to sprint back toward Emily and Sarah. Understanding her intent, the paramedic turned to his partner, nodding. "Follow that dog. I think she's leading us to someone who needs help." With Daisy in the lead, the paramedics raced across the park, following the dog's every move. Sarah, still by Emily's side, was desperately trying to keep her daughter calm as she whispered soothing words, though fear gripped her heart. Finally, Daisy returned, barking to announce the paramedics' arrival. "Please, help her!" Sarah cried as they approached, tears streaming down her face. She was just fine, but suddenly she collapsed. "I don't know what's happening." The paramedics quickly went to work, assessing Emily's condition. They checked her pulse, her breathing, and gently lifted her from the wheelchair to lie her down on a soft blanket they had spread on the ground. Sarah held her breath, praying for her daughter's safety. Daisy sat close, her gaze fixed intently on Emily, her body poised protectively beside her. The paramedics moved efficiently, providing oxygen and checking her vital signs. After several tense minutes, Emily's eyes fluttered open, and she looked around in confusion, her face still pale, but her breathing more stable. Sarah's relief was overwhelming, and she squeezed her daughter's hand, grateful for the swift response. One of the paramedics turned to Sarah, his expression calm but serious. "It looks like Emily had a fainting episode, possibly related to low blood pressure. Given her health conditions, we'll need to monitor her closely, but she seems stable for now." Sarah nodded, tears of gratitude filling her eyes as she looked down at Daisy. "It's because of her," she whispered, her voice breaking. Daisy knew something was wrong. She went to get help. The paramedic smiled, reaching down to pat the golden retriever's head. "She's a smart one, all right. You're lucky to have her. This dog saved your daughter's life today." The people who had gathered around murmured in awe, some patting Daisy, others wiping tears from their eyes. Emily, still dazed, managed a small smile, reaching out for her friend. Daisy gently licked her hand, as if to reassure her, and then sat by her side, her body relaxed but her eyes still full of concern. As the crowd dispersed, Sarah took a deep breath, overwhelmed by the realization of what had just happened. Daisy had not only recognized the danger Emily was in, but had acted swiftly, summoning help in a way Sarah had never thought possible. The bond between her daughter and Daisy was beyond anything she could have anticipated. It was as though Daisy could sense Emily's needs at a deeper, almost instinctual level. That evening, as they returned home, Sarah couldn't stop thinking about Daisy's actions. She sat with Emily and Daisy, feeling an immense sense of gratitude and awe. They had found more than a pet. They had found a guardian, a true friend who had given her daughter a second chance at life. As Sarah tucked Emily into bed that night, Emily held Daisy close, her eyes full of love. "I love you, Daisy," she whispered. "You're my best friend." Daisy, as if understanding every word, snuggled up beside Emily, her tail wagging softly. Sarah watched from the doorway, her heart swelling with pride and gratitude for the loyal companion that fate had brought into their lives. In the days that followed, word of Daisy's heroic act spread through the town, and people marveled at the story of the dog who had saved a little girl's life. Neighbors stopped by to bring treats and toys for Daisy, each visitor in awe of the golden retriever's intelligence and devotion. Daisy accepted each gift with grace, though she never left Emily's side for long, always keeping a watchful eye on her friend. Dr. Lynn, upon hearing the story, visited the Williams family to witness the bond between Emily and Daisy firsthand. She watched as Daisy gently encouraged Emily during her therapy exercises, her presence filling Emily with a quiet confidence that no one else could provide. "This is extraordinary," Dr. Lynn said to Sarah, her voice filled with admiration. "I've seen therapy dogs do remarkable things, but Daisy's connection with Emily is something truly special. She's not just helping Emily physically, she's transforming her emotionally and mentally, too." Sarah nodded, wiping a tear from her cheek. "Daisy is a miracle for our family. I thought I was adopting a dog to keep Emily company, but she's given us so much more than companionship. She's given Emily strength and courage. She's given her a life we never thought possible." Dr. Lynn smiled, placing a reassuring hand on Sarah's shoulder. "Sometimes animals come into our lives when we need them most. Daisy isn't just a dog. She's Emily's guardian and friend in the truest sense." As the weeks turned into months, Daisy continued to support Emily, helping her through therapy, offering comfort during difficult moments, and filling her days with laughter and love. Emily's progress was nothing short of miraculous, her confidence and physical strength growing each day. She began to try new things with Daisy by her side, her laughter and joy filling the Williams home with a warmth that had once been missing. One day, as Sarah watched her daughter playing outside with Daisy, She felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. She knew that Daisy's presence in their lives was nothing short of a blessing, a gift that had brought light to their darkest moments. And as Emily and Daisy raced across the yard, their laughter and barks echoing through the neighborhood, Sarah knew that they had found something truly priceless, a bond that went beyond words, beyond disabilities, beyond expectations. It was a love and loyalty that would last a lifetime, leaving everyone who witnessed it utterly speechless.